Saturday night, Miller Park, Milwaukee, and a beautiful night for baseball here in Brewtown. They are tailgating by the thousands outside. Brewers actually paid a visit to the tailgaters tonight. Fan Appreciation Weekend. It's game 2 tonight. The St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals right now 2 games up with 7 to play. Nori Aoki back in the starting lineup. Had a big day yesterday, and he is hoping this Brewers ball club can pick up a win here tonight. And hi, everybody. We welcome you from Miller Park alongside Bill Schroeder. I'm Brian Anderson. Great to have you with us tonight. And we'll see if the Brewers can even this series at a game apiece. Certainly a lot to play for St. Louis. The Brewers would love to disrupt what they're trying to do in the division. And tonight the Brewers, Rock, are going to give the ball to Giovanni Gallardo, who's been very good lately.
Yeah, a little bit of a hiccup his last time out against Cincinnati. 5 runs in 6 innings, but since coming off the disabled list, in 5 starts before his last, only 10 earned runs. And the team, the Brewers, most importantly, have won 5 of his 6 starts since coming off the disabled list. Facing the St. Louis Cardinals, he has not had a lot of success in his career against St. Louis, but he hasn't faced the Cardinals since May 4th, and May was not a very good month for Yo. It's a much different Giovanni Gallardo right now. Hopefully, it's going to show the Cardinals something different here tonight.
Stay with us. Coming up next, Craig Counsell joins Craig Kashawn and Davey Nelson, and they will talk Chris Davis, who has 10 home runs in just 2 months since he returned to the big leagues. He's been a big story.
Menards. Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards. By Miller Lite, it's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And by Toyota, let's go places. Well, Brewers Live pregame show is kind of a juggling act tonight, but we are back on track, all set for Brewers baseball. Craig Counsell, Davey Nelson, Craig Kashawn back on board with you. And we're going to take a closer look at Chris Davis. Since he came up in mid-July, he's batting .300. He's slugging .670, Craig. And all of a sudden now, he's got to be way into the plans during the offseason for what's going on in 2014.
I think Chris Davis has done what you want a young player to do. He's made the manager and the general manager make a tough decision. He's made Ron Renicky say, I got to find at bats for this guy. And he's made Doug Melvin say, I got to open up my roster so I can get this guy in the lineup every day.
Yeah, that's right, because when you look at what he's done, you know, Craig, I mean, he's starting this his 27th game. All right. So 10 home runs. I mean, that's pretty doggone good. And I tell you what, this guy seems to make some pretty good adjustments at the plate.
All right, Chris Davis back in the lineup, battling a nagging wrist injury right now, but he is in there today. We'll have those full lineups. And the first pitch, Giovanni Gallardo set to throw for the Brew Crew here in Game 2 as Milwaukee tries to even it up against the Cardinals.
Our final telecast here at Miller Park of the 2013 season. And Giovanni Gallardo on his way out, leading the Brewers on the field tonight. Saturday night baseball in Milwaukee. Brewers Cardinals. And the roof and the panels all closed up, 59 degrees. Our game time temperature. Mike Matheny, former Brewer, who is trying to take his Cardinals to the postseason in consecutive years. And he's looking for his first division title. His Piggly Wiggly batting order tonight. Matt Carpenter leads off. Carlos Beltran, then Matt Holliday. Middle of the order is Matt Adams, who had a big home run last night. Yadier Molina hits fifth. John Jay in the sixth spot. And the bottom three, David Freese, Daniel Descalso, and Lance Lynn rounding it out.
And Giovanni Gallardo on the mound from Milwaukee has not lost a game since July 25th. Remember, he spent 2 weeks on the disabled list, and since that time he's been very good. 30th start for Giovanni, an 11-9 record, making career starting in St. Louis number 17. The Menards Brewers defense for tonight behind Yo. Chris Davis in left, Gomez Aoki in the outfield. Bedcore gets a start at third base. Aramis Ramirez sits this one out. Bianchi, Jeanette Halton, and Jonathan Lucroy behind home plate.
Uni B getting the start at third for Ramirez. Just a maintenance day for Aramis Ramirez. He figures to play the rest of the way. The Brewers will have 8 games after tonight's game. Wrapping up this series with St. Louis tomorrow night. And Chris Davis back in the starting lineup. And Craig Counsell and Davey Nelson talking about Davis just before we hit the air tonight and the impact he has made. I thought Counsell made a great point about Davis, the fact that he is forced Ron Renicky to put him in the lineup, and he's forced Doug Melvin to start considering roster implications. That's how good he has been in his short time in the big leagues. The heavy-hitting Cardinals. They have dominated the Brewers this year, and they have dominated Giovanni Gallardo in Gallardo's career in Milwaukee. And Brewers are hoping to change up a couple of things on those fronts tonight. Matt Carpenter's had a great year, .323 average, 10 homers, 76 runs batted in. And he pulls that one over to Sean Halton, and there is out number 1. So, Rock, you figure something's got to give tonight. Giovanni Gallardo lifetime against St. Louis is 1-10 with an ERA of 6.78. And for a pitcher this good,
right,
who has been an ace, it's hard to understand that.
Yeah, making his 3rd start against St. Louis. And we mentioned on our open tonight, he has not started against St. Louis since May 4th here at Miller Park. And he is a much different pitcher now than he was back then, not relying as much on the curveball. And Giovanni ordinarily, when he's using that curveball, relies on hitters to chase, to get strikeouts. The Cardinals don't do much of that. So perhaps the cut fastball, a more effective pitch for Giovanni against St. Louis.
One gone for Carlos Beltran. Had a sacrifice fly last night that proved to be the game winner. Just a wild game last night. Back and forth. The Brewers had a lead, gave it away. Came back in the 9th inning. Looked like they were poised to win the game in the 9th. A double play into the inning, and then St. Louis went ahead in the 10th, and the Brewers could not come off the deck in the bottom of the 10th. And it was a 7-6 St. Louis final in 10 innings, and John Axford got the win. Michael Blazek the loss. The two guys that were traded for each other just a few weeks back. As Beltran rolls one to Jeanette for out number 2.
You know how you described that game last night? A good game. I mean, relatively well played, and there's some good pitching, some key hits for both ball clubs, but Brewer just came up short. But in general, a very entertaining baseball game.
I think Ron Renicky was pleased at the ability to come back after a disappointing moment to give up the lead on a booming home run by Matt Adams, but to come back in the 9th and score a couple of runs. It was one of those nights. Leaves you frustrated after leaving the ballpark. And I'm very curious to see how the bullpen will be put together tonight, because Renicky pushed all the chips to the middle. Hellwig only went 5 innings. That forced his relievers
all in, right?
in a lot earlier than he wanted, and he had to go an inning plus with Kinsler. Henderson went an inning plus.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the Cardinals use their bullpen tonight.
Indeed, they've had back-to-back extra inning games.
And their closer has had back-to-back blown saves. So a little bit of a question as to Edward Mojica's future as a closer with his ball club.
Ball and a strike on Matt Holliday. 2 outs in the first. And a swing and a miss. Now, Mike Matheny saying today that Mojica is down today, not available to pitch, and the closer's role doesn't necessarily belong to him exclusively anymore. He called it a fluid situation in the bullpen. It'll depend on matchups, and
not a good time of year to be have a question about your closer. You're entering the postseason, and the Cardinals not sure who's going to finish games for him.
Now, we don't dare put words in Mike Matheny's mouth, but I'll tell you what, you say things like that, and you've got Trevor Rosenthal in the 8th throwing 98 miles an hour. He's starting to feel like the Cardinals closer as Holliday singles, a ringing single back up the middle, and St. Louis with a man on with 2 outs. There's not a whole lot of other scenarios and matchups you're looking at that are more overpowering than Rosenthal against any hitter in the big leagues in the night.
And if they're going to do matchups, you got Segrist as well, who throws about just as hard, 98 miles an hour, the left-hander. And remember, they have John Axford, who has closer experience in the postseason. Axford looked pretty good last night.
Yeah, Axford picked up the win. He gave up the run that tied the game, but was an infield hit. And then got the double play to get out of the inning. He actually did a good job to get through the mess. Technically, Axford got the blown save. Mujica was taken out before he officially could get a blown save, but for all intents and purposes, it was Mujica who put the base runners out there and did the damage. With that win last night, the Cardinals up 2 games over the Pirates and the Reds, who are underway in Pittsburgh tonight. They are scoreless in the first.
And that's the bread and butter for Yovani Gallardo lately. That good command of the fastball, both in and out, left-handers and right-handers. He's been relying heavily on the cut fastball, not as much with the big curveball.
1-2 to Matt Adams, who hit his 15th home run of the year last night. And that could have counted for at least 1.5 as far as he hit it. Now 3/4 of the way up the Loge level in right field.
The 2-1 pitch from Henderson at about 96 miles an hour and turned it around.
Cardinals have not missed a beat in the absence of Alan Craig, one of their top run producers, and one of the top run producers still in the National League. Alan Craig hasn't played in a couple of weeks, and he's still 6th in the league in RBIs. Ball and 2 strikes. And that ball's hit high and deep to right. Back is Aoki, and there goes another one. Matt Adams on a 2-out, 2-strike pitch gives the Cardinals a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, there's that curveball that we've been talking about with Gallardo. He hung it, and Adams hit it out of here. Yeah, just when you think Yovani's going to breeze through the first inning, base hit, home run, and the Cardinals take a 2-0 lead. Here's the curveball, not where he wanted it. You got to bounce that pitch. Ends up at the belt, and look at the swing by Adams, and knocks it out of here. A 2-out, 2-strike home run.
It's toward the end of the bat as well. It gives you an idea of this guy's power. Didn't even barrel that one up. Got a thin sound to it, and still traveling over 370 feet. St. Louis has just been an incredible offensive team this season. They've had their moments on the mound too. They do have a lot of talent on the mound. Mujica's had a great year up until the last 2 games as their closer. But their offense is historically good, especially with runners in scoring position. And you never feel like you're out of an inning with these guys.
And good extension, and down and through, finishes high and knocks it out of the ballpark. Maybe a touch on the end, but not too much. It's not one of those big quick strike offenses over the course of the season. They did right there, base hit, home run, but it's a grind them out offense that relies on clutch hitting, and they've been doing it all season.
Yadier Molina has been one of their top hitters, and he walks. So with 2 outs, Gallardo has given up a single, a homer, and now a walk. That'll bring up John Jay. St. Louis coming in with a record of 89 and 64. Not only do they have their sights set on a division title with a 2-game lead and 7 to play after tonight, they also have an eye on the best record in the National League. Have 90 wins, beg your pardon, 90 and 64 is their record. Atlanta has the best record in the NL at 91 and 62. So the Braves up 2 in the loss column to the Cardinals right now.
And very consistent, have the Cardinals in just about every aspect from wire to wire, beginning of the year to right now.
Well, John Jay hitting down in the order these days. Had him hitting leadoff for a good chunk of the first half, sometimes in the 2-hole, but that has been solidified with Carpenter at the top. Jay bounces out, and that will retire the side, but not before Matt Adams does it again. 2-run homer for St. Louis. For the St. Louis Cardinals, and a 2-run homer in the first inning gives the Cardinals the lead. Ron Renicky and his Brewers playing from behind. Here's the Piggly Wiggly batting order tonight for Renicky. Got Nori Aoki, Scooter Gennett, then Jonathan Lucroy. All-star Carlos Gomez hitting cleanup tonight, the club leader in home runs, followed by Chris Davis and Jeff Bianchi. And then it's Halton, Betancourt, and Gallardo rounding it out. The Piggly Wiggly batting order to face Lance Lynn.
And Lynn making his 6th career start against Milwaukee. He's 2-2 at 272 earned run average, pitching for his spot in the rotation in the postseason. Had 11 wins before the All-Star break. That second half has not been very kind to him. He's very good at home, has struggled on the road. He's got a 540 earned run average away from Busch Stadium this year.
And his rotation spot for the postseason is up for grabs. Lance Lynn, 26 years of age, and he had a big impact on the Cardinals in 2011. Pitching out of the bullpen that year down the stretch and into the postseason. Nori Aoki leading off again. He'll be followed by Gennett, then Lucroy. Gene Segura out once again. Injured his hamstring against the Cubs on Thursday, and he is missing his 2nd consecutive start. Unlikely to see Segura the rest of this homestand, and the Brewers are certainly hopeful he can come back on the last road trip of the year, but that's still in question as well.
I know the Brewers are going to force him back, and you got to be careful with those hamstrings, because one more little tweak or strain and it could be an issue for him all winter. It's the last thing you want at this point.
One ball, 2 strikes on Aoki. That ball is in the air to center field. Jay is over to make the play. Out number 1.
Well, here's your Menards Cardinals defense. Holiday, Jay Beltran in the outfield. David Freese, Descalso playing short. Matt Carpenter and Matt Adams from 3rd to 1st. And Yadier Molina, the best in the business behind home plate. The Cardinals lead the National League in fielding percentage. They've committed only 70 errors this year.
Scooter Gennett now with 1 away. Comes in hitting .317. Been a tough road trip for Gennett. Did have a hit last night, or rather a tough homestand, I should say. 4 for 26 on the current homestand. Swung the bat very well against the Cardinals this year. He's hitting .393 against St. Louis. 1 out of 3 last night. Oh, 0-2 the count, and Jeanette shoots one opposite field, fair, right down the line, and it hits the sidewall. And Jeanette on his way to second with a double.
Yeah, how about that for an approach by Scooter Jeanette? That's what he's been doing since being recalled. Just a solid approach. Taking that ball to the opposite field. Not a bad pitch by Lynn. It might have been up a little bit, but right on the corner. Double number 10 for Scooter. Breaking ball, tried to backdoor it, and look at the approach by Jeanette, down and through, finishes strong and slaps it right down that left field line for a 1-out double. That's just a nice at bat, a good approach, didn't try and pull it, and gets himself a double. Thinking about 3.
Jeanette's base hit last night came to the opposite field. He just reached out and served one last night. Here is Lucroy with Jeanette at second base. Lucroy, the best the Brewers have with runners in scoring position, hitting .291. Career highs in homers and RBIs. Been one of the most productive catchers offensively in the National League.
Patient at the plate, uses the opposite field, and guys like that are ordinarily good in these spots. Cardinals as a team extremely good. And Lucroy the best the Brewers have.
Got the count in his favor. 2 balls, no strikes. And that one's in there. Well, among National League catchers, only Willeen Rosario of the Rockies has driven in more runs than Lucroy. Rosario has 74 while in the game as a catcher. Lucroy with 73. And those two are 1-2 in the major leagues, as well as Lucroy goes to right. Base hit. Jeanette around third. He's going to hold up. Beltran. Strong throw to the plate. He gunned down Aoki last night, and Ed Cedar taking no chances with one away.
No, you don't want to be thrown out at home plate. Yeah, with only 1 out, and that's what we were talking about, approach. Look at Lucroy. Taking that pitch, it looked like it was middle in and shooting it into right field, right at Beltran, and Jeanette has to stay at third base. Ed Cedar not willing to challenge the arm of Beltran again.
So that puts runners at the corners with 1 away. Single by Lucroy. That'll bring up Carlos Gomez. Cardinals lead 2-0 on a Matt Adams first inning homer. Brewers trying to answer here in the bottom of the first.
Carlos hit a bullet with the bases loaded last night in the 9th inning, but right at the Scouser at third base. A little bit either way, the Brewers would have won that baby right there with that at bat. Not much Carlos could do about that. Hit it hard, but turned into a double play to end the inning.
Gomez has a couple of homers on this homestand. Homestand that started with the Reds. Brewers took 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati, 3 out of 4 from the Cubs. Dropped the opener to the Cardinals last night. Gomez has been a big part of it. 10 hits on the homestand in 9 games, or 8 games, this being the 9th game. Gomez has homered twice on this homestand and has 11 runs batted in through the first 8 games.
Didn't go down on that big hack. Kept his feet and kept his helmet on his head.
Brewers with runners at the corners. Jeanette doubled. Lucroy singled. And Gomez trying to cash him in. 2-2. Lance Lynn deals it, and Gomez a little half swing. Did he go? No, he didn't, says Ted Barrett.
Close down there. Slider from Lynn. Did he hold up? Pretty close.
Jim Gantner would tell you it's because he used a black bat why he didn't get called for that swing and miss. It's all in the eyes. Full count. And wow, a ball, but how about that play by Molina? Oh man,
not even close. That last pitch, another slider. Molina's only chance was to throw the glove out there. Made it look easy. Check that out. Watch how far off the outside corner this pitch is. And Molina able to get it right in the heel of the glove.
Who makes that play? And he does it all the time. He's already picked one in a short hop in this inning. Did it last night to save a run. But the bases are loaded now with one out. And Chris Davis coming up. And you can hear by the music that he has playing. It's about as chill as it gets.
And he's like that all day.
Yeah, he is. Got a terrific swing. Not a big guy, but he packs some serious punch. Saw a lot of Chris Davis this spring. He and Kentrell Davis were sharing a lot of the outfield duties this spring. Chris separated himself at AAA. Actually made the ball club out of spring training because of a monster Cactus League. Hit 6 home runs in Arizona this spring. Hit twice as many homers than the other Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles.
I thought tonight was going to be the night.
No.
Now, you didn't mention the other Chris Davis. First inning.
Got to get it out there, man. Just like burning a hole in my pocket. Bouncer to third, and the play is at first for David Freese. That'll allow a run to score.
And to play at home. Looked like he had to play at home.
It'll be an RBI for Chris Davis, and the Brewers are on the board.
I tell you, throw to home plate, I think it would have been an easy out, but maybe didn't have a grip on the baseball, couldn't find the handle maybe, and got the shore out at first, so the Brewers on the board here to answer the 2-run first for St. Louis.
Well, maybe a bit of a break early. And on the force play, a much easier play at the plate. So second and third now with 2 away with a run in, and here is Jeff Bianchi. Jeff Bianchi with 2 hits last night, including a double. He doesn't have nearly the at-bats that Lucroy does with runners in scoring position, but Bianchi is hitting .295 in that category. Just 13 hits and just 44 at-bats. He's come up with some big ones, though. 50 points higher than his overall season batting average.
And usually able to use center field and right field. And not a lot of power. But he will put the bat on the baseball more times than not.
1 ball, 1 strike, tying run at third here in this first inning. Brewers trying to answer a 2 spot in the Cardinal first. Big Lance Lynn from Brownsburg, Indiana. Played his college ball at Ole Miss. And a former first rounder with the Cardinals back in 08. One ball, 2 strikes on Bianchi. And right down the heart. Lynn surprised him with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Inning is over. The Brewers strand 2, but get 1. And it's 2-1 St. Louis.
Down 2-1 to the Cardinals in the second inning. Today's Tavern of the Game winner, Sky Club Supper Club in Plover. If they call the Brewers in the next 24 hours, they get 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to a Brewers home game in April or May of next year. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite.
Near Stevens Point, right?
Yes, it is.
Stevens Point's having a good run on the Tavern of the Game lately. Was that 3 out of 4? Something like that? You pick them.
I don't know.
You just pick them out of a hat, or is there any rhyme or reason to your decision making?
They just hand me the card. I don't know who picks the Tavern of the Game.
Yeah, we don't give that information out. That person would be under lock and key.
Right.
David Freese leads off. Gives you an idea how good the Cardinals lineup is when you can have David Freese hit 7th in your batting order. He's had a down year this season. Been battling some ankle problems. And he swings and misses. He chases a Gallardo breaking ball. Good block by Lucroy. And there is Giovanni's first strikeout. That's the curveball he wanted to throw against Matt Adams.
I thought the same thing. This is a curveball that he wants to get with 2 strikes down in the dirt. You know, the one that he threw to Adams, a hanger up around the belt, cost him a 2-run homer. That's a good one right there. You don't want that pitch for a strike, not with a 1-2 count.
First strikeout for Gallardo, and here's Daniel Descalso now. He gets the call at short today. Started at short last night as well. He and Pete Kozma sharing a little time there. Mike Matheny going with the matchup, left-handed hitter versus right-handed pitcher in Descalso versus the defense. Descalso is not a bad shortstop. Not quite at the ability of Pete Kozma, however. And he walks on 4 straight. So the second walk issued by Gallardo.
Well, let's check out the delivery of Giovanni Gallardo on Phantom Cam. And the Brewers have made an adjustment to his delivery. A little bit longer stride, which helps him perhaps get on top a little bit better. There you see the curveball that he threw to David Freese for a strikeout. Good follow through and a good wrist snap, and a good pitch results in a strikeout.
I remember when Rick Peterson was the pitching coach here with the Brewers, and he was a big biomechanics pitching coach, kind of a mechanics guru, and he put Giovanni Gallardo on the machine that the Brewers still have. The Brewers were already starting this process in the minor leagues when they hired Rick, and then Rick took it to his big league pitchers, and he said at that time that no one graded out like Giovanni Gallardo as far as mechanics and all the pressure points being in the right position. They went on the simulator. It's one of the reasons that Gallardo has been able to remain healthy these years, as Lynn drops a bunt down, a good one, sacrifices Descalso to second base.
Hey, you use your legs. They're just like a hitter. The legs are so important. They don't really, you don't really think about it when you're watching a hitter, what the legs are doing, and certainly you don't think about, you know, the pitcher and what how important his legs are to his delivery. Everybody focuses in on the arm, but Giovanni uses his legs extremely well. Talk about that long stride that he's incorporated this year and pushing off that rubber. Takes pressure off all the joints, the elbow and the shoulder.
Gallardo from Fort Worth, Texas. He certainly didn't play for a baseball powerhouse in Texas, Trimble Tech. And a lot of what he does is self-taught. A second-round draft pick by the Brewers. Gallardo is one of those kids growing up that was playing against grown men and older players in the Mexican leagues, the beer leagues in the summers while he was pitching in high school. Great baseball town in Fort Worth, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So it's not always about coaching and getting the best coaches or getting in front of the best teachers of the game. Gallardo is such a great athlete. He figured it out, and he got into the Brewers system with these great mechanics, those who saw him win.
It's always a benefit when you play up a level. I mean, you learn a lot when you're playing against kids that are older than you, more experienced. And I guess if you're a good athlete, you're playing with kids, your age or maybe, not as talented. It's all well and good to have the big numbers and the success, but how much do you actually learn, right? You learn more from failure than you do from success.
2-1 to Carpenter. Got a runner at second, and that one's on the corner, a strike. Gallardo was all set to go to TCU, Texas Christian University, until he signed with the Brewers, and that's where Matt Carpenter went to school. Played for his dad there at TCU. Who knows? They could have been teammates. Roundabout ways to end up in the same space.
And guys peak at different times too. Some kids peak in high school. Some kids, peak in the major league level. It seems like Matt Carpenter is at his best right now. We didn't hear much about this guy until this year. Was he about a 17th round pick back in 09? Wasn't a high draft choice.
3-2, and Carpenter in and out of the glove of Lucroy. Carpenter, believe it or not, and when you look at him, it's hard to even imagine this, but while he was in college, he played at around 290 pounds. He was a first baseman in college.
Yeah, he was actually a 13th rounder back in 09. Still a relatively low draft choice to be able to say he's put up this kind of season.
A late bloomer in the big leagues. Fly ball to left. Chris Davis is there, and Gallardo puts up a 0 in the second. Phantom cash. Beautiful images. Brewers Cardinals tonight, game 2. Nightly on Fox Sports Live. You can join Jay Onright and Dan O'Toole along with Donovan McNabb, Andy Roddick, and Carissa Thompson. They'll bring you all the scores, news, and highlights you need. You can catch Fox Sports Live nightly on Fox Sports 1. Roof is all closed up tonight at Miller Park, Milwaukee on a Saturday night. Sean Halton will lead off for the Brewers, scoring a run on 2 hits and a walk in the first inning. Chris Davis with an RBI ground out, answering a Matt Adams 2-run homer in the top of the first for St. Louis. Been a homestand to remember for Sean Halton. Had a couple of firsts. His first career walk-off home run, that was last Sunday against Cincinnati. That secured a series win for the Brewers against the Reds. And then had his first grand slam against the Chicago Cubs back on Wednesday. Slow roller out to Carpenter. And there's out number 1.
Hey, come out to Miller Park for DNR days. Enjoy savings on Brewers tickets, plus get a free Blaze Orange Brewers cap. Visit brewers.com/special events for details. That's tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow is a night game. It says a 1:10 p.m. start on your schedule. It's been changed to accommodate national television, so it's going to start at 7:05.
Here's Betancourt, and he'll take a ball away. Now the Brewers will pack it all up and travel to Atlanta after the game tomorrow. Start a series with the Braves Monday. 3 with Atlanta, 4 with the Mets. And that will conclude the 2013 season. Ball and a strike on Uni Betancourt, and that one's inside. 2-1. Uni getting to start for Aramis Ramirez tonight. Brewers are in a stretch of 20 games in 20 days to finish the year. They didn't promote a lot of players with the September call-up opportunities that most did. So it's pretty much been the same wheel of players. See a lot of contending teams usually bringing up the most specialty players in September, those who can maybe help you steal a base or score a run. Billy Hamilton of the Reds.
Yep, so that kind of puts teams like the Brewers a little bit at a disadvantage in September. Not as many players to go to, and that's going to probably come into play tonight because their pitching, their bullpen is in a bit of a rough shape right now.
Brewers brought back Sean Halton on the position player side. Then you have Hellwig and Donovan Hand, Alfredo Figueroa on the pitching side of things. Michael Blazek, another one that was added. Almost hit him. Ball 4, and Betancourt draws the walk. Something he rarely does, but Lance Lynn lets him get away with the pitcher Gallardo coming up. Charter Cable high-speed pitch velocity. Lynn's hit 95. Gallardo been as fast as 92. Gallardo squares early and gets the bunt down. Lynn will go to first. Sacrifice bunt for Gallardo. And the Brewers will take a shot at it with a runner at second. I don't know, Rock. I'm at the time of the year. I'm ready to have Gallardo flail away.
Just let him, uppercut and maybe see if he can knock one out of here. You know he can.
Earl Weaver style.
Play for the 3-pointer. It worked. It worked for Earl Weaver.
Yeah. Yes, it did. Brewers a much different style of play. Segura and Ramirez.
You know what he said?
I do, but I
can't say.
I can't say. Sophia's here. I have no idea what he said.
Something maybe
something
like,
about I'm going to stand in front of Woody's camera so we can't see anything in the dugout.
Get your camera out of the dugout. One of those two things. Turn La Russa in the ballpark.
Good point.
A couple of years ago, La Russa thought that the cameras were trying to look in on his scouting reports that were sitting on the bench.
Yeah, he's blamed you for a lot of things over the years.
Yes, he has. It's okay. I'll take the blame.
1-1, and that's outside. 2 balls and a strike. Always a method to the madness for La Russa. When his club's not playing well, he would create a little controversy or say something.
Divert attention away from the real problem.
Yep. And you might remember when he went through that scenario at Miller Park. That was the day after Yadier Molina was ejected and suspended after he got into it with an umpire here at Miller Park. As Yadier later said, a lapse in judgment on his part. That was a wild 2011 season. The Brewers won the division that year. Cardinals won the LCS to go to the World Series, and then they won the World Series. Aoki out to left, and Holiday is there to end the inning. 2-1 St. Louis. We are on our way to the third.
The top of the third inning, and we always hear about random acts of kindness, and I'm joined by Steve Lindowski, who has established something out of a tragic situation. He lost his son 3 days before his 10th birthday, but something overwhelming has come of it, and I'll let you explain the acts of kindness that have come from this.
Well, it started out as a classmate that wanted to do a random act of kindness on the day that he died, the day of his birthday, August 7th. She did a random act, and it just kind of ballooned from there. And what we've been doing is continuing this random acts of kindness, giving money, gifts, using your own labor to help people out, and then just paying it forward. And it's just a really great thing that we've been doing. We're up to almost 11,000 likes in a town of 2,400. So there's a lot of people that have been doing a lot of things.
And you got to tell the story of how you contacted the Brewers and they wanted to get involved, and just talk a little bit about how they wanted to partner up with this.
Well, got in touch with the Brewers, just asking them how we could maybe give some gift certificates away here, and if they actually sold the gift certificates. And the Brewers got on board and said, we'd like to help you distribute those. And earlier today, 5 Milwaukee Brewer players out in the parking lot actually give those gift certificates out to random people, and we've been doing the same here inside Miller Park as well.
And in honor of your son, you say the best joy of this all is giving something away and not knowing, or the people that receive it not knowing why they're getting it and who you even are. You don't even explain those things, right?
That's right. We don't explain those things. We just give them the envelope. It kind of tells itself in the story. We have a Facebook page set up. It's called Acts of Kindness for Derek. If you just type that in on Facebook, you can find it. But the greatest thing is giving something to somebody and not expecting anything in return.
Well, it is absolutely overwhelming how you've been able to get something out of such a tragic situation. And, Steve, good luck with everything moving forward. And once again, if people want to get involved, where should they go?
The Facebook page is Acts of Kindness for Derek.
All right. Thanks for your time, Steve.
Thanks, Telly. Appreciate it.
All right, Brian and Bill, back up to you.
All right, Telly, thanks a lot. And a great story there. And congratulations to Steve. And that's a beautiful story and a means to get a message across, and the legacy of his son. And we stand behind it 100%. And tip our hat to Tyler Barnes as well. He was the Brewers VP that made that project go, and at least on our front on Brewers television. Yeah, we have some good friends of our broadcast that we're honoring tonight as well, and our gold in September, the G9, our friends the Bartos family, as Holiday lines one into left center field, and Gomez fights the lights but makes the catch.
Two pretty well hit baseballs to start this inning, but right at Gomez. Well, he makes it look easy. Able to get there. No problem playing a little bit deeper. Had a little bit of a problem with the lights, but angles himself in a way where he could see it and makes the catch.
And 2 up and 2 down here in this third inning. We'll bring up Matt Adams. Now, Rocky, looking good in your gold tie tonight. I appreciate you wearing that.
Feels good. I mean, it's a nice tie. Do I get to keep it, or I have to give it back?
No, you can keep it. Unless you'd like to sign it, then we'll give it away for charity. How about that? We'll do an auction.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to.
With the rock gravy and all attached to it. It's a beautiful thing.
No gravy tonight. It's nice and cool tonight. Maybe word in Atlanta, maybe a couple of days to have.
September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and the Gold in September, a project started by folks right here in Milwaukee, all across the country, and we're honored to support it. Wear the gold ties tonight. Two balls, 2 strikes on Adams. Hit a 2-run homer his last time up, and he hit it with 2 strikes and 2 outs on a hanging curveball.
Yeah, so Gallardo comes back this time with the cutter. And a cut fastball, and the 4-seamer had been very good for Gallardo since his return from the disabled list. He's thrown some 2-seamers in there, some sinkers.
And a swing and a miss. Gallardo went with a fastball, and he struck him out. A 1-2-3 inning in the third. Cardinals lead it 2-1. The Brewers are coming up. Gallardo with a 3-up, 3-down frame.
in the National League Central. Playoff race will end tomorrow. They wrap up their stretch of 32 out of their last 35 games against their division rivals. So we ask you on our AT&T Twitter poll, continuing our discussion from yesterday, which team will win the National League Central? Now, last night, people said the Pittsburgh Pirates. They took a tough loss, though, yesterday. Both games here in Milwaukee and Pittsburgh went to the 10th inning. The Pittsburgh Pirates lost at home 6-5 to the Reds. They are currently tied 2-2 in the third. So last night, a big night in the NL Central, BA, kind of a changing of the division there.
Yeah, and the Cincinnati Reds on the road picking up that win, scoring 3 runs in the ninth, and then Votto hit the decisive home run in extra innings. And those two are all tied up in the division with the Cardinals up 2.
And they're all tied tonight, 2-2 in the third.
Now Russell Martin hit a home run for Pittsburgh to tie that game up. Homer Bailey on the mound for Cincinnati tonight against A.J. Burnett, who continues to hint that he will retire, or he's considering retirement at the end of the year. He's a free agent at season's end. You buying that?
No.
Scooter Gennett with another base hit. Scooter is 2 for 2. Scored the first run, and he's aboard to start the third inning.
And just continues to put a good approach on the baseball. Just shoots it into left field. So a leadoff base runner for the Brewers. They're first tonight. And two-seamer going away from Gennett. Stays right on it and looked almost like exactly like his swing that he was able to double on in his first at bat. Same location, different pitch. It was a breaking pitch he doubled on his first time up. That was a fastball.
So Gennett is aboard for Lucroy, who singled to right his last time up. Lucroy headed back to Louisiana this offseason, where he makes his home. Runner goes, swing and a miss, and Molina's throw is not in time. Scooter Gennett with his second steal, and that's a notch in the belt when you steal a bag off Yadier Molina.
And it's still pretty close, and Jonathan Lucroy protecting him a bit, swinging at the pitch, although it was out of the strike zone. Gennett running with his head up, did not look in, and a relatively easy stolen base for Scooter, and he's in scoring position.
Just got in there, and a great look on Phantom Cam. So Gennett at second, and a 1-1 count. Over to third, off the glove of Freese momentarily, and he recovers to throw him out. Freese not blessed with a lot of range at third base. Usually makes plays whatever he gets to. That was right at the end of it.
And right at the edge of his range, but as you mentioned, when he gets to it, he's usually got a pretty good accurate arm over to first base. Had plenty of time with Lucroy getting down the line. Unusual for Lucroy to pull a ground ball to the left side in that situation. He's usually very good at, if nothing else, advancing base runners.
Carlos Gomez will bat with one away. Gennett still at second. And a little half swing foul, didn't mean to do it. And what you saw right there is something that Ron Renicky has talked a lot to Gomez and Gene Segura about this year. Trying to get them to turn back inside or away from the pitch, as opposed to opening up on inside pitches. That's when you set yourself up for injuries.
And when you turn, turn your back, you can't. Baseball is not going to hit the bat when it's close like that. You open yourself up, and pretty good chance it's going to hit something. Hopefully the bat, and not your arms.
I was talking to Aramis Ramirez about that, and he said it's something he learned when he first got to the big leagues. And remember, he was hit on the hand a couple of weeks ago, and that rarely happens to him. And it's a good way to keep yourself off the disabled list. One of the most common injuries for hitters on hit by pitches is the hamate bone, the broken hamate bone, and that's what happens a lot when you open up to the pitched ball as opposed to turning away from it. And as Gomez strikes out, and won't be pleased with that at bat. Lance Lynn with his second K, 2 outs in the inning. I wasn't aware that that's something you could actually change. You know, you feel like it's an instinct, but it's like anything else. You work on it. You work on turning in and away from the ball.
That's your natural setup too. I mean, you got to close that front shoulder in order to, keep yourself, on the outside corner to be able to reach that outside corner. You open up too soon, you can't reach the outside pitch.
Well, Scooter's still at second base, led off with a single, stole second. He's there with 2 outs, and Chris Davis at the plate. Davis is from the Phoenix area. He was thrilled to be called back up a second time when the Brewers were in Arizona playing the Diamondbacks. Had a lot of friends and family there. Has shown power to all fields. The Brewers were hoping when the year started that Davis would be able to adapt to a bench role. That's where they had him pegged to start the season. Normally a guy who plays a lot in the minor leagues, hits in the middle of a lineup, struggles in that role, and Davis was no different. But the Brewers were hoping that his experience at Cal State Fullerton, where he did DH and pinch hit quite a lot, would serve him well in the big leagues. But he struggled in a big way to start the year. Just a role that, especially after playing every day in spring training, just about getting a ton of at-bats. It wasn't too long when Davis almost had to be sent back to the minor leagues just to get some regular at-bats. He lasted a month first time around. Davis had just 3 hits in the first month of the season. Brewers brought him back up in mid-July briefly, and then when Ryan Braun was suspended, he came back up on the 23rd of July and has been here ever since. And that's where all of those numbers come from. July 23rd, 10 homers, 24 runs batted in.
It's all about playing time. That's the only difference between Chris Davis now and early in the season. Hardly found any playing time, and that's tough on anybody, particularly a young hitter.
Little half swing, and he goes. Lance Lynn strikes him out. Inning over. The Brewers get a runner at second with nobody out. Cannot score. Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. By Ho-Chunk Gaming Wisconsin, your ticket to more. And by Marshfield Clinic. Don't just live, shine. Everything looks cool in Phantom Cam. Even big league dirt.
Smoothing out that infield. How do you get a bad hop on that?
No kidding.
Every 3 innings. Come on.
Cardinals lead 2-1. And here is Yadier Molina to start it. First ball swinging. He fouls it back. Gallardo giving up a 2-run homer in the first to Matt Adams. Came with 2 outs. Oh, you want to see something cool, Rock? How about that? Huh? How good was that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not why they sent us Phantom Cam, but we just decided to do some weird stuff. Mostly out of the strange, foggy mind of Wave Robinson, our producer.
I used to be outstanding at throwing water balloons.
That's a skill you lose, or you don't feel like you're any good at that anymore?
No arm. Can't throw them like I used to.
I really enjoyed that popping of the balloon. Now I know where all the tacks went, the thumbtacks in the booth.
It is amazing, that camera.
Two and two to Molina. And Molina fouls it away. Molina dealing with a knee problem this year, something that's not 100% yet. Put him on the disabled list this season as Gallardo goes up the ladder with a fastball, strikes him out. And Giovanni suddenly has retired 6 in a row, and he has struck out the last 2 hitters.
Well, you don't see Molina chase a pitch like this. It's not even close. About head high and up and in. And Molina with a swing and a miss, and has dialed it in since giving up that home run. Allowed 2 walks since the homer.
But that's the thing with the Cardinals, isn't it? You make a mistake and they'll make you pay. More so than any other team in the National League. Sometimes you get away with hanging curveballs with 2 strikes. Not very often against this club as John Jay bounces out. Now, Rock, Gallardo's had a good curveball tonight, and let's take a look at the mechanics of that on Phantom Cam.
Yeah, just watch how little of the baseball Giovanni has his grip right here. Check it out. I mean, he's only about a third of the baseball that he's got in his hand. Everything else exposed. See the way he drops that arm. He hides the baseball pretty well behind his back, and then cups that glove to get that torque with his bottom side and able to follow through. We're going to say that that is the strikeout curveball, not the home run curveball.
Driven into right center. David Freese out to Gomez. Flying his way across the alley. Carlos Gomez makes the play to end the inning. Appreciation Night. Brewers players and coaches went around Miller Park parking lots distributing promotional items, crashing some of the tailgates out there. And they had a good time. I saw a lot of tweets from fans out in the parking lot saying, hey, Carlos Gomez just came by and crushed some of my chips.
That's awesome. That's good the Brewers do that. Not many organizations send their guys out to the parking lots, do they? Very fan-friendly, this Brewers organization, that's for sure.
Great night out there to tailgate. Temperatures in the upper 50s at game time. Final tailgating opportunity of the season at Miller Park tomorrow. Hope you'll take advantage of it. We will not be here tomorrow for television. National TV has it covered on ESPN. And then we're back with you Monday from Atlanta. Brewers will finish with 7 on the road. Still using the 6-man rotation right now. Gallardo will next pitch in New York against the Mets. That'll be his last start of the season. Peralta tomorrow against Joe Kelly. Kelly cleared to pitch after a calf injury threatened his start against the Brewers on Sunday. He's had a terrific second half, Joe Kelly. The Yankee strikes out. Lance Lynn's got him chasing. 3 consecutive Ks and 4 in the ballgame for Lynn. Fox Sports is proud to team with Feeding America, a nationwide network of food banks that helps feed more than 37 million people in America each year through pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. You can visit feedingamerica.org/Fox Sports to learn how you can fight hunger in your community. Together we are Feeding America. One out for Sean Halton. Is it just me, or does Sean Halton bear a striking resemblance to Pete Vukovich in the movie Major League? At the plate, you know, Vukovich at the plate or at first base.
You're just talking about the facial hair, of
yeah,
course.
just kind of the burliness of him. The facial hair.
That was Brian Anderson, Sean. That wasn't me saying that.
Talking about the overall presence.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I get you.
Let me soften that up a little bit.
Yeah, not specifically, but you know, just a general broad view. Not necessarily sporting the boiler that Pete Vukovich had at that point. Post-pitching career. I'm just saying. Now you're attacking Vuk.
There's no way out. At Brewers Fan Camp. Now you can tweet your responses.
Oh, he knows my voice. You're a great man, Vuk. Wasn't me.
2-2.
Haven't seen much of Pete Vukovich these days. Saw him once. Now scouting for the Seattle Mariners. He and Ted Simmons.
Yeah, that's right. Simba. Under general manager Jack Zarincic, part of his staff.
Saw Simba here at Miller Park about what, midway through the season, sometime July.
Sharp as ever. What a memory Ted Simmons has.
Yeah. Very influential in the Players Association and the Marvin Miller era, and one of the guys that made the Players Association in baseball what it is today.
Full count. One man out. And off the end of the bat, Descalso. And a close play. They just got him.
Shortstop really the only spot for the Cardinals that is in question right now. The scouts are not a natural shortstop. He plays there a lot. Pete Cosmo over there as well. But just gets him by half a step on a play that should have been fairly routine. Made it close.
Probably be an area that the Cardinals will address this offseason, I would imagine. They certainly have the pieces to make a trade for a premier shortstop. Uni Betancourt, who walked his last time up. Uni typically doesn't stick around long enough to draw the walk. A free swinger at the plate. Betancourt has just 13 walks all season in 130 games. That ought to cover him for the rest of the year at this point.
Not many strikeouts either, because it doesn't normally see 3 pitches.
That was close. Just missed.
Yeah, that was close.
One and two, and it's outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, check out Yadier Molina receiving a pitch on Phantom Cam. Watch the way the baseball actually closes the mitt. Molina himself does not squeeze it. You don't have time to do that. The baseball is squeeze it. He brings it to his chest. See how close he is to the hitter. You get a lot of strikes that way.
And a swing and a miss as Uni strikes out, and Lance Lynn picking up 4 strikeouts to the last 5 batters.
Before tonight's game, the Brewers honor some of their top minor league prospects, and I'm joined by 2 of the 3 that were honored tonight. Jason Rogers, who was named the Brewers Minor League Player of the Year, and Michael Rattery, who was the MVP of the Pioneer League, and he played for the Helena Brewers. And we're going to start with Jason. 22 home runs for the Huntsville Stars, Minor League Player of the Year. What was the key to your breakout year this year?
Probably just experience, staying within myself, making the adjustments that I needed to, and just keeping my head straight and just staying healthy, really. That was the biggest thing.
Michael, you were the MVP of the Pioneer League, a league that is filled with top draft picks, but you were the guy that was the most valuable player. That must make you feel good to get your career started like that.
Yeah, I feel honored and lucky to receive this award. A lot of great players in that league, like you said.
Michael, Jason, you two see this Brewers organization, a lot of young guys getting opportunities, and when you can put a year up like that, does it make you even more excited to come back next year knowing you may have a chance to one day be here really soon?
Oh, yeah, it's motivation. Like I told him, I knew most of the guys in there, and I played with Jimmy Nelson this year, so it's just motivation for me for next year.
And Michael, you got a chance to take batting practice, you and Jason, and to put on that Brewers uniform, does it just make you hungrier to put it on hopefully soon?
It really does. Exactly what Jason said. I mean, this ballpark's incredible. Got to put on a real jersey with our name on it, and it was just a great experience, and it makes us want to get here someday.
Michael, Jason, congratulations on a good year. All right, B.A. and Rock, back up to you.
And nothing caps off a great year like being interviewed by TV's Telly Hughes.
That's right.
I mean, that's like the ultimate season. Now they can head on back home and call it a season. Well done, fellas.
Yeah, well, what a thrill it has to be for these guys to be able to come to this ballpark at the end of the season and take batting practice, get into the clubhouse, get a jersey, and it's certainly something that they will never forget. And of course, you know, these guys, they see this organization, they see the big leagues and the third deck. They want to get here quickly.
And those numbers by Rattery, got to remember that's a half season there, not a full minor league schedule. And as Telly mentioned, a lot of the top round draft picks there. As Lance Lynn hits that one off of Gallardo, it bounces to Betancourt, and Lynn is out. And now we will see how Gallardo is.
It doesn't look like he's having any problems, but of course Ron Renicky and head athletic trainer Dan Wright's going to go out and take a look. Boy, Lynn centered on that one nicely. Hit it right off the leg of Gallardo, but Betancourt able to make the play just above the knee on the inside of the leg. It looks like he's pointing that. As long as it didn't hit the knee, I think he's going to be all right. You hit that knee, that bony area there, then you're going to be hurting. It was a cut fastball, and Lynn stayed right on it.
Ouch. Going to leave a mark.
Get that on Phantom Cam.
Well, now he'll have a bruise to share with Jonathan Lucroy. Catchers get hit there all the time, and nobody comes out to check on him.
Right.
Ever.
Catchers don't want him to come out.
Lucroy didn't even bother to go out there. He said he's fine.
You got hit once, and that's what you do?
He shut down the whole stadium.
How many times have I been hit, and everybody just laughing in the dugout?
And knowing Gallardo, he didn't want all the attention either. So he's all right. That's a good thing. Could have knocked him out of this game. So he is still at it with 2 outs in the 5th, and Carpenter trying to bunt his way on. And a strike on the corner. 1-2 to Matt Carpenter. Gallardo trying to get through this 5th inning. And that one just missed.
Good pitch. Didn't get the call. Curveball. Carpenter commits himself, and where was it? Ring him up.
Carpenter fouls it away. Stays in there 2-2. Well, our head and shoulders whiff for Gallardo tonight. First, he started on a breaking ball, striking out Freeze. Got Adams on a fastball. And then Molina chased a fastball upstairs. Two outs, 2-2 to Carpenter, and he pulls one inside the bag, and that's down the line. Aoki chasing. Carpenter on his way to second with a double. And his first hit of the night, and the Cardinals have a base runner for the first time since the 2nd inning. Gallardo had retired 10 in a row.
That good hitter doesn't need any help. He had 4 strikes in that at bat. Gallardo had him rung up on a curveball, didn't get the call. And Carpenter tucks one inside the first baseline. This is a team that does not need any help with the balls and strikes. That's for sure. Boy, doing a nice job of pulling the hands in. Look at the pop the hips open and able to keep that ball fair on a pitch in on him.
Mike Matheny calling for the baseball. No left-handed hitter in Cardinal franchise history, which is significant, has ever done what Matt Carpenter just did. His 54th double of the season. And Carpenter sets the franchise record. Now, one lefty comes to mind right away, Stan Musial.
Right. Hey, look at some of the numbers that Carpenter's been able to put together as far as, left-handers and leadoff hitters. I mean, base hits and runs scored, things like that. I mean, in franchise history for the Cardinals, and this team's been around a while.
Carpenter leads the National League in doubles by a long shot. He's 13 doubles ahead of his nearest challenger, Jay Bruce, and his teammate, Yadier Molina. Also leads the league in runs and hits and multi-hit games. Stan Musial had 53 doubles in a season. Carpenter just passed him. Anytime you do something better than Stan Musial, you have really accomplished something. The late Stan Musial.
Most doubles by a left-hander in Cardinals history. Ducky Medwick, 1936. He had 64 of them. Those are some impressive names.
Yeah, Joe Medwick, part of the Gas House Gang Cardinals. In the air to right, back is Aoki, and he has room. Beltran just missed it on the bat. Gallardo is through the fifth. 2-1 Cardinals. Round out in the bottom of the first. Yadier Molina, 5 straight gold gloves.
Look how close he is to Uni Betancourt right there. I mean, you're going to get a lot of strikes called when you're that close to the hitter. I mean, you're going to make curveballs look much better. And check out the positioning of Molina. Had a tough pitch to throw on down and away, but very quick with the feet. It doesn't look very quick right there, but getting your feet in position to throw is the most important part of being a good thrower behind home plate. You can see the position of the fingers on the baseball, and good catchers and good fielders will always be able to find the seams when they're throwing the baseball. And I was never really able to do that as quickly or as consistently as a guy like Yadier Molina. But you get the ball out of your glove and he almost spins it just a little bit to have your fingers across the seams.
Well, that is amazing. And these are the kind of things that we've never seen before until Phantom Cam. These 5,000 frames per second. Watch his right hand behind his helmet and searching for the laces, just like you said.
Yeah, he's spinning the baseball as he's getting in position to throw, and watch where he has it when he releases it. He's got his fingers across the laces, and that's going to give him a very true flight to second base. There it is, right over the top. I mean, that's perfect form. You would expect perfect form from Molina. And he does things behind home plate you can't even see. You don't even know he's doing, but he's doing them better than anybody has ever done it before.
It's a good eye rocket. Never, you know, you hear a lot about guys searching for the laces, but into his throwing motion, just trusting that he'll find it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trusting that it's going to be there, and he's done it so many times.
He's only done it a million times. He's got it down pat. Yeah. Takes a lot of pride in doing that.
That's why I love that camera. As Aoki rips one back up the middle. Got that one on the barrel. And Nori singles his first hit of the night and the first hit since the third inning.
Hey fans, tomorrow's the Time Warner Cable Customer Appreciation Game. Bring last month's Time Warner Cable billing statement to the Miller Park box office for a buy one get one free terrace ticket offer. Last home game of the season, and you get a deal. 7:05 start tomorrow night.
So don't show up at 1 o'clock and say no one told you. Scooter Gennett, dirty uniform and all. He's been all over the bases tonight. He doubled and scored in the first. He singled and stole a base in the third inning. One man gone with Aoki at first. And that ball's hit high in the air, right center. Beltran for the out. Tagging is Aoki. He'll stop. Good throw from Beltran.
Yeah, Scooter gave that one a pretty good ride. Adjustment by the Cardinals after a couple of base hits for Gennett on pitches away from him. They tried to jam him, tried to come in on him, and he nearly hit one out. So the Cardinals make the adjustment, and so does Gennett.
Well, two gone with Aoki at first for Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy tonight is 1 for 2. He singled to right field in the first inning. He grounded out to third in the third. 2-1 Brewers trail the Cardinals, and it's been that way since the first inning. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are currently tied at 2. That game's in the 6th inning now. Homer Bailey and A.J. Burnett both pitching well. Those 2 runs that Bailey gave up. The 2-run home run by Russell Martin, those were unearned runs. Two and nothing on Lucroy. 2-1. Powerball home run leaderboard looks like this. Lucroy with a career best 17 home runs for the season. Got a chance to hit 20 this year. That would be quite a season, especially when you think about where Lucroy was when he started the year. He was hitting .208 after the first 6 weeks of the season. It was a rough beginning for him. and has been his normal self ever since. Batting .279 currently.
He had an average up near 290 at one point. Kind of tailed off a little bit on the homestand.
And there's ball 4. So Lucroy draws the walk. Lance Lynn puts a couple on base here with 2 away. And here comes Gomez.
Been a bit of a struggle for Lance Lynn tonight. He's only had 1 3-up, 3-down inning. That was the 4th.
Gomez walked in the first inning. Lynn struck him out in the 3rd. That was with a runner at second base. Frustrating at bat for Gomez. He was not pleased after Lynn got him to chase one upstairs. Couple of home runs on this homestand. 21 homers for Gomez. A career year at the plate. 21 homers and 36 stolen bases this season.
And now he's got the count in his favor. He could look for a pitch in a specific spot. If he doesn't get it, let it go. Try and find a gap somewhere.
Two on, 2 out. And Gomez fouls it back and a big swing. Carlos has already made his presence felt defensively tonight. A couple of nice catches. Took a hit away from Matt Holliday, and then he took an extra base hit away from David Freese in the 4th. Sprinting into the gap in right center. 2-2.
Reaches back for a little extra when he needs it, doesn't he? Able to get that one by Gomez right down the middle.
And now the count full, and that'll mean the 2 runners will get a head start. See that rehearsal swing by Gomez, trying to remind himself to stay down and through it. He's at his best when he's driving the ball to center field and right center. Runners go 3-2, and he pops it up a mile high right up the pipe. And Adams will make the call and jump for the baseball to make the catch to end the inning. Wasn't pretty, but he gets the job done, and Lynn strands a couple of base runners. And don't forget, mark your calendars. Brewers on Deck, presented by Time Warner Cable, will take place on Sunday, January 26th, 2014. That looks weird. At the Wisconsin Center downtown. And as part of Fans First, the event will be free. No strings attached, Rock. Totally free.
Everybody's welcome. Free of cost.
Visit brewers.com/on-deck for details. That just got the attention of all the fire marshals around the area. Free event. We're looking forward to having you there. Rock will be there.
I will be there. First time in a while. You know, on-deck event always has been the first day that fantasy camp starts. Not this year. I'm looking forward to being there.
That's a great time. Great crowds, and good to put everybody in a public space in the dead of winter and start thinking about baseball again. Fantasy camp this year is February 2nd through the 9th in sunny Phoenix, Arizona, where the grass is green.
And we've got 6 spots available. That's it.
6?
That's it. 6.
Got to have a little auction for those. Highest bidder.
Right.
Just go to brewers.com/fantasy camp. I suggest you do it today.
A $1,500 deposit if you call the number on your screen.
Nice. I don't see a number on the screen, Rock.
We'll hold your spot. Don't put it back up.
Maybe just write it in on the telestrator. What is the number, Rock?
It's coming.
I know you know it.
Yep, 414-321-8605. Talk to Jody. She'll sign you up.
2-2 to Matt Holliday. Leading off the 6th inning, and a swing and a miss. Gallardo strikes him out. A big cut on a fastball from Gallardo. Well placed.
Yeah, tied him up inside. That's where you have to pitch Matt Holliday with the fastball. And you leave it out over the plate, and he's going to get a pretty good whack at it. That one right on the inside corner and ties him up. And a big strikeout to a very hot hitter.
Every pitcher tries to work Holliday inside. That's his vulnerable spot, as is the case with a lot of big power hitters. But if you miss at all, first of all, he doesn't swing at too many pitches off the plate inside, and then if you miss over the plate, big damage. We've seen it many times. Matt Adams responsible for the 2 runs on the board for the Cardinals. Got a hanging breaking ball with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the first inning. Hit one into the seats. Pops this one up right off the end of the bat. And Bianchi is there for out number 2. You see the pitch count for Gallardo. Got off to a shaky start. Actually retired the first 2 hitters of the game, and then he gave up the single, the homer, and then the walk. Took 24 pitches to get through the first. And if he can get Molina here, he might have a chance to go back out for the 7th. Ron Renicky would love for Gallardo to be in a position to get through 7.
Well, Ron Renicky would love to be in a position to pinch hit for him in the bottom of this inning. That would mean the Brewers have a big rally going.
Gallardo's spot due up 5th in the bottom of the 6th inning.
He just had such good command with the cutter and the fastball lately, ever since coming off the disabled list. Well, made the mistake with a curveball to Adams. That's really been it. His location's been very good. Both in and out to both lefties and righties, and the cutter's been a good pitch.
Gallardo went on the disabled list with a hamstring injury, and you start to wonder if that 2-week break for his arm, the reason why he's pitching so well. Fly ball right center, right to Aoki, and Gallardo gets through the 6th. 1-2-3 inning. We head to the home 6th. Cardinals lead it 2-1. of the Miller Park schedule. Throwing some seeds on Italian from the Cardinals dugout. Not very classy, Cardinals. They're kind of moseying along here, and you'll understand why in a moment. Normally this happens on Sunday, but the little weenies are involved today, and got mass confusion, Rock.
Yeah, well, the hot dog involved again. Even the little hot dog having a tough time.
But the hot dog with quite a rally. Seems like the Brewers would have a person in place to help keep the sausages organized.
I think the Brewers or Clements, they're going to need to put the hot dog on a workout regimen this offseason.
He's had a bad year.
Yeah, he has. I mean, and you'd like to be able to say it's not for lack of effort.
No.
But the whole effort thing has been the issue.
Yep. Hot dog has been suspicious. Tell you what, Cardinals throwing seeds on the hot dog and the Italian and the chorizo.
Keepers of the moral code. That's not good.
That's not a recommended thing to do. Many have tried, many have failed. That comes back around to get you in
bad form
in ways you don't even understand. 0-2 to Chris Davis. I mean, it's not like the Italian went and jumped in anybody's swimming pool or anything.
All right.
Jam shot, little roller to third base, and Freese will make the play for the out. Text question, Rock, courtesy of Ho-Chunk Gaming, Wisconsin. And the Brewers in the series with St. Louis. Kyle wants to know, do teams like playing spoiler for other teams in their division?
Well, certainly the Brewers would love nothing better than to take a couple of games from the Cardinals in this situation that they're in right now. You don't go into spring training saying we'd like to play spoiler in September for sure, but if that's what you're left with, I mean, that's what you kind of like to do. I mean, the Brewers have played spoilers somewhat. I mean, they've played well against Cincinnati. They took 2 out of 3 from the Pirates on a road trip, and just can't figure out a way yet to beat this Cardinals club here at Miller Park. They've only got 1 win this year.
1-7 against St. Louis at Miller Park. Cardinals have been the one team, and of course St. Louis caught the Brewers early too, and Milwaukee was in their worst struggle of the year. Brewers are 4-13 against St. Louis this season. Only one of those wins here. We're keeping an eye on the game in Pittsburgh tonight. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh tied at 2. That game's in the bottom of the 6th. Pirates at the plate. A lot of games with postseason implications riding on them tonight as Bianchi pops it foul and out of play. There are a couple of finals in. The Indians win again. Cleveland beat the Astros 4-1. They started the day one of the 2 wild card teams in the American League. A half a game ahead of the Rangers. Cleveland will stay in that position. Scott Kazmir got the win today. He's 9-9 this season. Quite a comeback for him.
Yeah, there were 4 extra inning games last night in the big leagues, including that Tampa game. 18 innings.
Beltran makes a play for out number 2. A reminder that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Brewers and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Brewers. This is what it looks like in the American League currently. The Tampa Bay Rays beat the Orioles today 5-1. So they're a half game up on the Indians. Top 2 spots go to the postseason. And then the Rangers in progress right now with Kansas City. They could bump that back up to a half a game deficit. They have a 3-0 lead over the Royals. Bottom of the 7th in Kansas City. The Braves had a chance to clinch their division tonight, but they lost to the Cubs 3-1. They still could clinch if Washington loses. Nationals and the Marlins in a long delay. Brewers will see the Braves Monday. And it's been thought the whole time that, at least in the month of September, that the Braves would have it clinched by then. Might not happen, though.
They need to win. Trying to nail down home field advantage. A lot to play for still, even when they clinch. Kind of thought that the Braves would clinch about a week ago, you know, when you got into September.
You know, Nationals have been hot lately, sitting at 12 games over, but probably starting too late. Well, Lance Lynn is rolling along here. Strikes out Sean Halton in the inning. He has 7 Ks now, and it's still 2-1 St. Louis.
On Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. And by Miller Lite. It's not just good time, it's Miller time.
Playing ball at Miller Park. Got one more tomorrow to wrap up the home schedule. Giovanni Gallardo and Lance Lynn hooked up in a dandy, and it didn't start that way. All the runs coming in the first inning. Gallardo at one point retired 10 straight and has retired 14 of the last 15 now. Cardinals have had just one base runner since the second inning. A 2-run homer by Matt Adams in the first inning. Halton gives it to Jeanette, who hits Gallardo, and Gallardo missed it. And Jay is on his way to second base. The throw gets into left field. Brewers had an out on John Jay twice. He ends up at second base with nobody out.
And Sean Halton should have stayed home and gotten over to first base. He ranged a little bit too far. I think he realized it, but too late to get back. And Jeanette had some time, but threw a rocket over to Gallardo. And led him a little bit too much. And John Jay into second base. A good throw probably gets John Jay, but nope. Ends up in the left field.
See how they score that one. Tough chance for Gallardo. The throw was there, but it was right as Gallardo was trying to find his way to the bag. So a runner at second. And Gallardo going to have to bear down here with David Freese at the plate.
The kind of mistakes you can't make against a team like St. Louis. Tough enough to beat them when you play perfect baseball, but you start making mistakes, throwing the ball around and giving away runs makes it tough.
It's going to be a single for Jay and then an E4 that allows Jay to go to second base. Infield hit.
And that's a generous base hit. Yeah, good throw, and John Jay is out easily at first base.
Two balls and a strike on David Freese, who is 0 for 2, and that one's in there. 2-2 the count. Dropped another curveball in. Two to 1 St. Louis, each club with 4 hits. And Jay on his way, a swing and a miss, throw to third is not in time. Strikeout at the plate. Stolen base for John Jay, and a good throw is going to get him.
Good throw would have had him easily, but I think that throw might have had him anyway. And not a very big lead, a decent jump, not great. Hot throw a little bit high, but boy, it could have gone either way. And Scott Barry gives a safe call very quickly. Looked like he might have been in there by an eyelash. Third base umpire right on it.
Man, that's as close as it gets, huh?
Yep. He saw it safe, and John Jay with a stolen base.
So a strikeout for Gallardo gives him his first out of the inning and his 5th K. Daniel Descalso. Brewers have their infield in. If there was any thought about walking Descalso to get to the pitcher spot, Mike Matheny has quelled that. He has Colton Wong, a pinch hitter, on deck. Two and 0. 2-1 to Descalso. This is when the Cardinals are about as good as it gets in the big leagues, executing in particular situations.
0 for 3 so far tonight.
Got a runner at third, less than 2 outs. Descalso, not a guy who strikes out very often. And good speed at third base, and a foul out of play. 2-2 the count. And if you're Gallardo, what's your strikeout pitch in a spot like this, you think?
He's been very good with the cut fastball, trying to get it underneath the hitter's hands, particularly left-handers, and just don't want to make a mistake with the curveball. That's an easy pitch to loft into the outfield to score the run. But here it comes.
2-2. And it was high. Ball 3. So a full count with 1 away. Descalso walked in the 2nd inning, and then he lined out in the 5th. A couple of good at-bats against Gallardo. And there's a swing and a miss. Threw him a cutter and got him to strike out. That's a big one for Gallardo at out number 2.
That's been his bread and butter since coming off the DL. It's not been the curveball, it's been that cut fastball. Cut fastball, a short slider, whatever you want to call it. A good pitch on a 3-2 count. Descalso sitting fastball, and you can see him a little bit underneath. Pitch fooled him.
So Gallardo picks up the K, and now Matheny's going to pull Colton Wong back, and he's going to send Lance Lynn back to the plate. So obviously,
decoy.
Yeah, Wong used as a decoy, and now a way to get through this inning.
I really don't think it would have affected what Ron Rennick was going to do anyway. I mean, you're not going to pitch around Descalso, that's for sure. Ron Rennick really not going to bite on pitching around the number 8 hitter.
Well, and if Rennicke did walk Descalso and Lynn bats, he's just going to bunt the runners over. Then you have to deal with Matt Carpenter. Not sure that was a great option anyway. So that was a big strikeout for Gallardo. And now imperative that he can polish off Lance Lynn, the opposing pitcher, who is 4 for 50 at the plate this year, hitting .080. I'm not even sure that's the right way to say that. That's not something you say very often. Because you don't just say, what was your batting average? I hit 80. You like 080 or are you going with 80?
Neither one. That's not something you discuss. Doesn't sound good whichever way you say it.
2-2. And a swing and a miss. And now he's hitting 79. Gallardo strikes out the side after a runner at third base, still 2-1.
Central last night. Brewers, Cardinals, Pirates, and Reds all needed 10 innings to get their games determined, but it changed the landscape of the NL Central. So in our AT&T Twitter poll, we were asking fans to weigh in. Who do you think will win the division? 44% said the Pirates. Now they are 2 games back. They're currently hosting Cincinnati. They have taken a 3-2 lead in the 6th inning. So Cardinals still lead the division. And BA, how would that be? That Pirates and the Reds, if they met again in that wild card playoff game? I'm not sure which team I would want to pick there.
But you know, the one thing that, I don't know if you want to say it bothers you or it's just the way it is, but can you imagine that the Pittsburgh Pirates would finally make the postseason again after 21 seasons or 20 seasons of losing baseball? And then they might not even host a playoff game. They could go to Cincinnati or St. Louis and then lose, and that's it.
Yeah.
One game and out.
That'd be a shame for the fans, but that's the way it's set up. Pirates will be in the postseason. Whether they have a playoff game at home remains to be seen. Man, what a night for Yovani Gallardo. How well did he pitch tonight?
It's a big effort to get through the 7th inning as he strikes out the 3 hitters after John Jay got himself to second on an error, then stole third base on the first strikeout. And they might be discussing whether Gallardo can go back out for the 8th. That was an interesting debate down there with Dan Wright and Rick Kranitz all involved in that discussion.
Well, he's still throwing well, and we talked about the Brewers bullpen, and that could use a night off.
Fly ball to right for the first out. By the way, on that strikeout to Descalso, Phantom Cam giving us an incredible image. Check out the finger of Jonathan Lucroy. Watch this.
Yeah, check this out. Look at the impact of the glove. Look at the index finger go back. And that was a cut fastball. That wasn't really the big fastball from Gallardo. That's about 85 miles an hour.
Wow. The catchers take a beating or what?
Yeah.
Well, that posture right there by Gallardo tells you he is done for the night. As now the bullpen starts to get loose, and of course Caleb Gendel pinch hitting for Yovani Gallardo, so we really know that he's done for the night.
Yeah, you figured he wasn't coming out, because the Brewers need some runs. Well, what a job he did tonight, man.
2-1. He exits trailing by a run. Can still get a win tonight if the Brewers can take the lead and take it the rest of the way in this inning. How's your hand, by the way? You caught all those years in the big leagues. I caught in college, but my index finger on my catching hand still is numb.
Mine is too, right on the tip.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch nearly as, I mean, not even close to the amount of games you
Right.
caught, but you know, to see that finger snap back like that.
See that? See, I can't even feel that.
Here, chop that thing off. It affects you in the wintertime, right?
No, it really is. My index finger on my left hand is numb from the knuckle down.
Yeah, mine too.
It is.
We have something in common.
That's it, isn't it?
That's great.
That's about all we have in
Finally
common.
found it. 7 years. Finally found something.
And it's a numbness from the neck up, right?
That's right. No doubt about that. Tools of brilliance. Full count to Gendel. And it's outside, ball 4, so Gendel draws the walk. And a man on here in the 7th inning. Brings the go-ahead run to the plate. If you're just picking us up on a Saturday night, our game summary brought to you by Toyota. Cardinals lead 2-1. And all of the runs coming in the first inning. Matt Adams homered with 2 outs and 2 strikes. Chris Davis drove in a run on a ground out in the first. Lance Lynn and Gallardo hooked up in a dandy. And that could be the end of the line for Lance Lynn as Mike Matheny is on his way.
A couple of left-handers coming up, and Matheny going to go to the bullpen.
Randy Choate will be on the mound next. Lynn is done. They'll exit with a lead.
Cardinals by a run. And make sure you visit foxsportswisconsin.com and check out 5 things to watch in the Packers-Bengals game. You can also get complete coverage of the Badgers-Purdue game and top tweets from the past week from Wisconsin area athletes. And once again, a programming note to pass along. The Brewers game that was originally set for 1:10 tomorrow is now 7:10 as the Brewers accommodate national television. So once again, make sure you take note of that. The Brewers game tomorrow night is at 7:10 p.m. here at Miller Park. Brian.
All right, Telly, thanks. Randy Choate on the mound, left-hander, and Mike Matheny bucking the statistics, playing the traditional matchup as he brings on Choate to face Aoki.
And Nori hitting .341 against left-handed pitching this year, but Choate's been very good out of that Cardinals bullpen. And Cardinals have 4 left-handers down in the bullpen. Every one of them throws hard except for Randy Choate.
Brewers down a run. 1 gone here in the 7th inning. Choate drops down sidearm and gets the foul from Aoki. Got Aoki and then Jeanette. 2 left-handed hitters at the top of this order. Brewers are without Gene Segura, not available to play tonight. Not on the disabled list, just unavailable with a hamstring injury. Choking up on the bat.
Yeah, big hole between first and second for Aoki, but against left-handed pitching, he's much more comfortable going to left field. You got Adams holding the runner. You got Carpenter in double play depth.
They got Gendel at first. He walked. And a swing and a miss. Took something off, and Aoki is in a hold. To 2 strikes now.
And 2-1. He threw him a slider and had Aoki way out in front.
Randy Choate is the soft lefty. Kevin Segras is the power lefty, typically late in games for Matheny. Here comes a 2-2, and Aoki rolls one over to Freeze, throws on the run, and it's in time to get Aoki. That is out number 2. On the play, Gendel to second base, and the tying run in scoring position for Jeanette. Scooter's had a good night tonight. 2 hits, he stole a base. And his steal is in our Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery of the game. Just his 2nd career stolen base in the big leagues.
And not often you're going to be able to steal bases on Yadi or Molina, but he slides to the outfield side of second base, making that tag a little bit longer for Descalso. And in there safely.
And Jeanette, who has struggled against left-handed pitchers this season, trying to turn those stats around a little bit. Tying run at second base. Gendel has a big lead, and Jeanette drops a bunt foul.
Options limited for as far as right-handers go on the bench. You've got Martin Maldonado and Aramis Ramirez. Maybe a little bit too early to use Ramirez. You want to save him for later. And Gene Segura, who's probably not available tonight. Left-handed, you got Schaefer and Juan Francisco.
You saw that reaction by Renicky between pitches. Just motioning to Jeanette. Not a bad idea. Not a bad thought to drop a bunt down. And David Freese was very deep at third base prior to that last bunt attempt that he just took. Brought him in a few steps. Now he's easing back.
You would think at some point that Jeanette's going to, get it done against lefties just because of the approach that he has up at the plate. I mean, against right-handers. Stays right on it, goes to the opposite field. It's just a matter of getting the at-bats, I think.
And pulls that one out to Carpenter, and that will retire the side. So Choate does the job. He retires the two lefties, and the Brewers lead the tying run in scoring position.
Every regularly priced Brewers home game, fans can purchase half-price Lowe's bleacher tickets in Club Goodwill. These tickets are sold day of game and at the ticket windows in left field.
Say hello to our good buddy Tom Carter down there in the ticket office. Did a great job all season long, he and his staff. Crowd of over 35,000 on hand tonight. 35,008.
Going to miss our home crew here in Milwaukee. This is it for the season.
Our last telecast at Miller Park this year. As you see the numbers on Rob Wooten, who will take over for the 8th.
And pitched well in last night's ball game. Wooten pitched a scoreless inning. He pitched a scoreless 6th inning when the Brewers had a lead. He struck out a batter. 24th appearance overall for Wooten. Got a good split-fingered fastball, the sinker and the slider. A 263 earned run average. He's done a nice job since being called up.
Now the Pirates have taken the lead over the Reds 4-2. A.J. Burnett has 12 strikeouts through 7 innings against Cincinnati.
Still think he's going to retire?
Now the Pirates beat writer Tom Singer made a good line. Said A.J. Burnett's curveball does not look like it's ready to retire. Burnett hinting that he might retire at season's end.
Negotiation ploy.
Yeah, maybe so. Creating options. Pedro Alvarez gave the Pirates the lead with a single. Broke a 2-2 tie. A.J. Burnett has passed over the 200 strikeout milestone this season with his 12 Ks tonight. So it's 4-2 Pittsburgh. Winner of that game will lead by a game in the wild card race. There's a called strike 3. Rob Wooten punches out Carpenter.
And slider on the outside corner, backdoored it. Carpenter knew it. Well, Carpenter took a curveball from Gallardo pretty much in the same spot, wasn't called, with 2 strikes. Then he proceeded to double down the line. This one called right on the edge. And Wooten gets a call.
And now Beltran going to drop one over Jeanette's head. His first hit of the night. Wasting no time against Wooten. Didn't hit it sharply, but he is aboard with a single. North Carolina native Rob Wooten played his college ball at UNC. His first year in the big leagues, one of 12 rookies the Brewers have on their roster. Cardinals lead 2-1, and now Wooten getting into the heavy lumber here with Matt Holliday, followed by Matt Adams. The Brewers are in the middle of their order as they head to the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th. Got Lucroy, Gomez, and Davis coming up. And Matheny has Trevor Rosenthal loosening in the pen.
This is a point of ball game last night in the 7th inning where Ryan Renneke went with his left-hander Gonzalez at this point in the lineup. It didn't work out all that well. Gonzalez not even getting loose at this point. It's going to leave it up to Wooten.
Gonzalez lasted just 3 batters, gave up back-to-back doubles. Both of those runs scored.
Bullpen silent for the Brewers.
Wooten pitched a scoreless 6th inning yesterday. A major threat at the plate, but he does bounce into a lot of double plays. Two and two, had him out in front.
Had him reaching for that one. Yeah, good pitch going away from Holliday, and those are the pitches that you get the double play ball, and they have a hitter out in front reaching.
Holliday's bounced into 30 double plays this season. That is the most in the National League. Wooten would love one here. 2-2 the count. Beltran at first. Part of the reason the Cardinals bounce into so many double plays is because they don't run much, and you would expect that if you had a power hitting team.
And they don't strike out. They put the ball in play. Yep. Yeah, Cardinals lead the big leagues in rolling into double plays.
That's a foul ball. And then the other part of that, the common sense part of that, is they're on base all the time.
Right.
They get a lot of hits. Team that doesn't run, they'll deal with the double play statistic because it is overwhelming in just about all of the others on the positive side. And a little flare that's going to fall, a base hit. Beltran will stop at second, throw to second, and Beltran just back. So a couple of bleeders. And now Wooten in trouble with 2 on and 1 out, and Matt Adams coming up.
Yeah, a couple of pitches that were fisted into right field because they're up in the strike zone. You get it down and a little bit different result, but you leave it up in the zone, and even when they don't hit it all that well, it's elevated and they can dump it over the infield. That happened with Beltran and now Holliday, and the Cardinals have something going.
See that brace Adams is wearing on his right elbow. Injured that elbow in a game on Wednesday, and had to come out of the game. He didn't start Thursday in Colorado. Returned to the lineup last night and made an impact with the big home run last night. Gave the Cardinals a late lead. He is homered tonight. That was in the first inning off Gallardo. 1 for 3. He's at 16 homers now and 50 runs batted in only 267 at bats. You just do the quick math. A full season, you just double that number. If Adams is in there every day, and you get the idea what kind of year he's having. 2 on, 1 out, and a hot one that's going to sneak through a base hit, and they're going to hold Beltran, and that will load the bases. Adams with 2 hits, 3 consecutive singles off Rob Wooten, and the bases are loaded for Molina.
Well, he was able to get that pitch down, but Adams able to find a hole down and in. Left-handers like it down there, out of the reach of Jeanette. Hit too hard for Beltran to score. Not running all that well these days. And speaking of a guy that can roll into double plays, Yadier Molina coming to the plate.
Molina's bounced into 14 double plays. Bases loaded for the Cardinals. 3 consecutive singles. Beltran, Holiday, and Adams. And a foul ball on an excuse me swing. Molina comes in 6th in the league in batting average. There's a wave and a miss. 0-2 on Molina. Way out in front of that one.
Yeah, really pulled the string on the breaking pitch. And Molina tried to pull that one, something he doesn't do much. His game is the right field.
Bases loaded, 1 gone. Wooten deals, and a foul out of play. Right now, the National League, Michael Kadire and Chris Johnson leading the league in hitting, each hitting .331 coming in. Molina's in that group, and that one just missed. Not by much.
And went with a slider and apparently just missed the outside corner.
Fox Tracks had it off the plate. The 1-2, and Molina spoils that one. See what Wooten has in mind here. The 1-2, and it's inside.
Yeah, good try inside. First pitch he's tried to get in there. Second, actually. You can see both of them well off that inside corner. You don't want to make a mistake inside.
Wooten, the AAA closer in Nashville at the time of his call up. In a spot here, the 2-2, and it is just away. And Molina's going to see an 8th pitch. It's a good take. Molina doesn't bite. And now Wooten's going to be forced to come in there. Nowhere to put him. Full count, 1 out. Molina, in his first 7 years in the big leagues, had just 1 300 season. He's trying to make it 3 consecutive. Much improved hitter.
Very difficult to strike out. Matter of fact, a bunch of guys that are in the top 10 in the National League and making contact and not striking out. That one was probably off the corner, but Molina able to fight it off.
Brewers looking to turn 2 to get out of this inning. The 3-2. And it's outside, ball 4. Bases loaded, walk. Molina just doesn't bite. And it's 3-1 St. Louis.
I'll tell you, some very close pitches by Rob Wooten. Big Kranich on his way out. Let's see, this one was off the outside corner, but not by much. Couple inches.
That's probably the biggest difference between AAA and the big leagues.
And AAA, they try to get him to swing. In the big leagues, they don't.
I'm sure Rob Wooten has got many a strikeout on that pitch at the minor league level. Molina, just a terrific at bat. Everything off the plate he takes. And now Wooten, with the Brewers trailing by 2, will face John Jay. Impressive numbers with the bases loaded. And despite going 1 for 11 this season, still hitting .333 in his career. Jay now in his 4th year in the big leagues. Over 500 games at the major league level. Jay's batting average at a career low, but his RBI is a career best. 65 runs batted in. Not a whole lot of options in the bullpen tonight. Alfredo Figueroa is getting loose. Two and 1, and Jay fouls it off. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, Wooten not giving in. I mean, if he's gonna get hurt, he's gonna make him hit his pitch, sliders and splitters. Not gonna give him one down the middle with a fastball.
Jay reached on an infield hit his last time up. 2 and 2, and he chases that one and almost hit him in the knuckles.
And might have hit him had he swung and missed. And that slider boring in on him.
Fouls it off his leg.
Not sure how he got a piece of this pitch, but he got it right off the knee.
Ouch. Bam.
Right off the kneecap. Yep.
I think you're right, though. When you look at where the bat was, where the ball hit the bat, that probably would have hit him in the back leg had he missed that ball.
Yeah, I tell you, it was coming right at him. But he had committed to swing, and it's a good thing he fouled it off, or might have hit him even in a worse spot.
That's what you call a gremlin. That tape machine feels a lot like John Jay's knee right now.
But he's going to be all right.
And so is the tape machine. Wooten needs an out in a big way. Cardinals have a run in, bases loaded, 4 consecutive base runners. And the 3 straight hits and the 2 flares by Beltran and Holiday after the first out. And there's the swing and a miss. Went right back to it, and Jay misses it this time.
Almost the same spot. That went a little more on the plate. You lose a little bit of aggressiveness when you pound one off your knee. It's pretty much the same spot. Down and in, and Jay swings right over the top of it. And after the strikeout, that's a big out.
And Wooten to face David Freese with the bases loaded. Has a grand slam this season, one of his 2 this season. There's strike 1. Freese has great power to the opposite field. Has not been the hitter this year that he was in 2011.
Amazing, only 8 home runs.
Freese pulls one in the hole, a base hit. In to score is Holiday. Adams coming in, and he'll score. All the runners advance, and the Cardinals add to their lead. It is now 5-1. And another hit with a runner in scoring position. Freese opens it up here. A 3-run 8th inning. 2 RBIs on a single for Freese.
Yeah, Cardinals 0 for 5 coming into the inning. 2 for 3 in this inning. A hanging breaking pitch, and Freese able to hit it into left field. And no question whether they're going to send Adams to home plate. So he should have gone into second base.
And Renicky will make the move here. Wooten is out. Figueroa coming in. Continuing to limp to the finish here. Wooten got the first out, but then 5 out of the next 6 hitters reach base. Brewers down 5-1. Miller Lite, what's on tap tomorrow on ESPN, the national game. 7:05 first pitch. Joe Kelly and Willie Peralta. Kelly coming back after a calf injury, put his start in question. There, Peralta The only starter who has been out there for every turn this season. He'll get 2 more starts. That'll put him at 33.
And Figueroa making appearance number 31 this year. He made some starts for Ron Renicky early in the season. Last pitched on Thursday against the Cubs. Pitched a scoreless inning, struck out a batter, was called back up on August 30th, where he pitched pretty well in 3 games. Took the roster spot of John Axford when he was traded to the Cardinals.
Pete Kozma pinch running for Freese, who drove in 2 with a single to make it 5-1. Well, the Pirates still leading the Reds tonight. That game's in the 8th inning now. 4-2 Pittsburgh. Cardinals with a 2-game lead in the division. After this series with the Brewers, the Cardinals will have a matchup against the Washington Nationals at home. And then they have a day off Thursday, and then they finish the season at home against the Cubs. Favorable schedule for the Cardinals. Pirates and Reds still have 4 more games against each other after tonight. Matheny took his club as the 2nd wild card entry last year. They beat the Braves in the wild card game, the first ever National League wild card game, and then took out the favored Nationals, team that won 98 games a season ago, before losing to the Giants in the NLCS. Two and 2 with 2 outs. Daniel Descalso batting for the 4th time. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. Figueroa deals. Fly ball left field. Trouble. Davis on the run. Lays out. Can't get it. 2 are in. Descalso on his way to 3rd. Nope. They'll stop at 2nd. And it's a 2 RBI double. And the Cardinals have a 5-run inning. Now 7-1 St. Louis. Good effort by Davis. Just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, it's a good gamble to take. I mean, you're ready, down 4. You catch that baseball, you end the inning, and if you play it safe, a couple of runs are going to score anyway, so why not? Descalso taking that one deep to the opposite field. You don't see him do that very often. So the Brewers bullpen having a rough inning. And Ron Renicky, as you mentioned, the options are limited down there in the pen right now.
All 5 of those runs belong to Rob Wooten. Adron Chambers will bat for the Cardinals. Into right field. Aoki is there, and this one mercifully over. A rough 8th. Cardinals get 5 runs. They lead it 7-1.
the Cardinals, but the 7 innings previous belonged to Giovanni Gallardo. Pitched pretty well. He's on the hook for the loss, so 7 innings, 2 runs.
Well, I think a start like tonight shows you that Yo still got it in him. This was a vintage Gallardo performance. Rough first inning, but he was really dominant after that, Davey.
Well, he was, and you said it, that he was going to get up for this big game. He likes it. I tell you what, after that first inning, he made that one mistake on a hanging curveball. Other than that, I mean, his stuff was good.
All right, to another pitcher now. Stump the Hopper, special edition coming up. Brewers Live postgame. Let's take a listen in.
All right, this is the Batavia Muck Dogs, which is short season A. And it was the Phillies when I played.
I think it's the Marlins now.
Let's go with the Marlins.
Pretty sure it's the Marlins.
It's the Marlins,
yeah.
short A. That boy Donnie.
One
half and a half.
Half and a half. And
half and a half.
It's funny.
Good stuff.
It's kind of an awkward high five, I thought, but he had a microphone in his hand. It's not out of his normal element.
Heart wasn't in it, was it?
Exactly. 7-1, St. Louis. Jonathan Lucroy leads off. Got some changes here for the Cardinals. Cosma stays in to play short. Bumps Descalso over to third base. And Seth Maness is the new pitcher for St. Louis.
I saw Maness in last night's ball game. He pitched in the 7th inning, gave up a hit, did not allow a run. Be interesting to see what Mike Matheny elects to do with his playoff roster down in the bullpen.
Lucroy at the plate, presented by Wendy's.
Closure issues, and if the score remains this way, they're not going to have to worry about that tonight.
I don't think you'll hear him say it, but not that anyone's asking my opinion either.
I am.
For me, Trevor Rosenthal is the closer of this team. I mean,
he has playoff experience from last year,
and there just aren't too many guys like him.
You got John Axford down there that's been a closer in the postseason. There's a lot to be said for that.
Yep.
Closing in postseason games and having that experience.
Fly ball right field line, going to get down, and Lucroy with extra bases. That bounces out from the sidewall, and a ground rule double for Jonathan Lucroy.
Second hit for Luke, both of them coming to the opposite field. Base hit in the first to right, and now a double down the line to right. 23rd double of the year for Luke. Batting average now over 280. Not a bad pitch, but Lucroy with that good approach, thinking right field, able to get the bat on it, and doubles to lead off the 8th.
Which will bring up Gomez with a runner at second. This was a 2-1 game going into the 8th. Cardinals scoring 5 runs. RBI hits from Descalso and Freeze. A bases loaded walk to Molina. That was really the pivotal at bat in the inning against Wooten. A lot of close pitches, borderline pitches. Molina fouled off the tough ones, took the ones that were just off the plate, and drew the walk to make it 3-1 St. Louis. And it looked like that at bat took a lot out of Rob Wooten. Then you're almost forced to come in on the plate. He did come back with a strikeout, but then the 2 run producing hits.
Yeah, he started the 8th inning by striking out Matt Carpenter. He looked good first batter, but a couple of jam shots got him in trouble.
Well, Maness comes in to get Carlos Gomez and his first strikeout after the Lucroy double. The Powerball home run count, the team total for the Brewers, 148. Last year the Brewers led the league in homers and stolen bases. They are the National League stolen base leaders that we get to play tonight. And surprisingly, they've been able to remain in the top half in the league in homers.
Yeah, they're 6th in the league in home runs. Cardinals 13th.
That surprises you a little bit.
But hasn't kept him from leading the National League in runs scored.
It doesn't feel like a team that is at the bottom of the league in homers. The Cardinals, they have power threats. Chris Davis, speaking of power threat, rifles one into the gap, and that will bounce out. An RBI double for Chris Davis. He's driven in both runs tonight, and the Brewers trailing 7-2 now.
Quick hands, quick bat. He stands up there very relaxed and not a lot of movement before he starts his swing. There's that two-seam fastball from Manus, and Davis able to get the bat head out and rip it on the line into the gap to score a run. That's a nice swing. Apparently that wrist feeling good for Chris Davis. Good to have him back in the lineup.
Here's Bianchi now. Bianchi's been getting the starts at short in the absence of Gene Segura. Segura still out with that hamstring injury and unlikely to return in this series. And a little bit of question for the Atlanta series. And then you start to think about with Segura, if you're only going to have him back for 3 or 4 or 5 games, you just shut him down for the year. Just call it a season.
And the last thing the Brewers want to do is push that hamstring and have him really hurt it. And he's going to have a rough off season to come back. His hamstrings are very tricky.
Ricky Weeks is going through that hamstring injury rehab. He had surgery on a severely torn hamstring. Bianchi's the shortstop by trade, came up as a shortstop in the Royals organization. Cubs claimed him, and then Cubs immediately took him off their roster, and that's how the Brewers got him prior to last year. Fly ball left center, pretty well hit. John Jay is there, and Davis will tag and make it to third base. 2 outs.
Bianchi gave it a pretty good swing, but got underneath. Fastball out over the plate. Looked like the same pitch that Chris Davis whacked into the gap.
Sean Hall now with a runner at third. Bouncer to third base. Scalzo winds it up, and that will retire the side. Milwaukee gets a run. Cardinals lead 7-2 as we go to the ninth. Back at Miller Park, we head to the 9th inning. And the Cardinals lead it 7-2 after a 5-run 8th inning. Don't forget Brewers Live coming your way as soon as we are done here. Craig Kashawn, Craig Counsell, Davey Nelson. But the postgame instructional is with Bill Schroeder and Charlie O'Brien.
Charlie O.
Doing some catching instructionals shot way back in the spring, and a timeless instructional from Charlie O.
Talking about getting in position and throwing a baseball to second from behind home plate. I'll tell you, Charlie O'Brien, one of the best defensive catchers in his day. Well, he could throw.
Fantasy camp instructor. Not this year, last year, right?
Last year, yep. Going to be back again.
Don't want to burn him out. Got to put him on a bit of a rotation.
Charlie living in Oklahoma. He's got a game ranch out there. Charlie big with the bow and arrow out there.
What kind of game are you talking about?
Big. Big antlered game. Not elephants or anything, but
not squirrels and skunks and possums and things like that.
Big deer. Huge.
You got to go check in with Scooter Jeanette Rock. He was showing off a new bow the other day in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Sweet one.
Matthews probably, right?
Yeah, it was.
And a bunch of the guys have them down there. I didn't make the list of the bow and arrow gifts.
Well, it didn't end up in the minor league box, I'll promise you that.
Yeah, right.
Broken bat, Carpenter. And Bianchi makes the play for out number 1. The Pittsburgh Pirates have finished off the Cincinnati Reds. That series all even at 1 game apiece. This is how it looks. St. Louis, if they finish off Milwaukee, they'll have a 2-game lead over the Pirates, and then they'll be up 3 on Cincinnati. And you see what is remaining for these teams. Cardinals go home to finish their season. Pirates will be at Wrigley and then at Cincinnati. And then the Reds have the Mets there in between. Going to come right down to the end, you would figure. Although it looks like the Cardinals have the best path of the 3.
Easiest schedule. Got a day off. And the Pirates and Cincinnati Reds have 4 games remaining.
A little bit different story in the American League. That is a wide open wild card race, even at this late juncture. Right now it's the Rays and the Indians that are the 2 teams on the inside. Texas beat Kansas City tonight, so they have kept pace in the wild card standings. Texas is tied in the loss column with the Indians, but a half game back as Beltran walks. Your favorite phrase, Rock, if the postseason began today, this is what it would look like. Rays and Indians in the wild card game. Winner would go face the Red Sox, who have already clinched the division, and the A's and the Tigers, rematch of last year's ALDS. And then in the National League, Pirates Reds to face the Atlanta Braves. Cardinals Dodgers.
Having some problems the Oakland A's are with the ballpark right now.
Yes, they are. There's flooding.
But it's not water.
Yeah, it's not just flooding. It's
some of it's water.
Sewage.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not good.
Flooding the dugouts and the coach's office and the clubhouse. That's a little motivation tactic by the Oakland Athletics.
Yeah, need a new stadium.
They do need a new stadium. Been a lot of talk about the A's and San Jose and the Giants with that territory, claiming that territory, and where that's going to all end up.
It's not a bad football stadium, but baseball leaves a little bit to be desired.
Oakland is close to clinching the division in the American League. I think their magic number is now 1. Oakland's won 3 in a row. They just kind of blew the doors off the Rangers. Texas went into a September fall, at least in the first 2 weeks of September. And the A's kept winning as they were on the road trip across the Midwest. Bouncing ball, Bianchi to second for one, and a double play to end the inning. Bottom of the ninth coming up. Brewers down 5. Might as well get 6. Of the ninth inning, a 5-run 8 for the Cardinals. Our shining moment of the game brought to you by the Marshfield Clinic. How about Chris Davis tonight, responsible for the 2 runs on the board, had an RBI double in his last time up, drove in a run in the 8th, and Chris Davis now with 25 runs batted in. Just a little over 50 games in the big leagues. Continues to impress and has played his way into the plans for next season. Little jam shot, one hopper, and Carpenter makes a nice play for the first out. Seth Mann is trying to finish this one off for St. Louis. We will be back with you on Brewers television Monday night in Atlanta. Mike Matheny, even with a 5-run lead, is going to make a pitching change here.
There you go.
Juan Francisco is announced as the pinch hitter. So Matheny will go to his bullpen. And we'll take a break. Reneke's going to send Martin Maldonado to the plate after Matheny makes the pitching change with 1 out in the 9th. And Kevin Segras, a hard-throwing lefty.
Had 3 consecutive left-handers coming up, and he considered Francisco the pinch hitter. I didn't want to use Manis too much, and Segras, this guy's an impressive arm. You can see his numbers, 50 punch-outs and just shy of 37 innings of work, and an opponent batting average of just 116. So here's a guy that you could perhaps see in a closer's role at some point. He had a couple of guys down there that could do that. They have the stuff for it.
And his first offering is at 95 miles an hour. Maldonado, the backup catcher, likely will be in there tomorrow with Peralta on the mound. Typically catches Willie Peralta. 7-2 St. Louis, continuing their dominance over the Brewers at Miller Park. Brewers are 1-7, in danger of falling to 1-8 with 1 to play. Now let them get it out of the way this year, right? Start anew next season and try to get back into the picture. Popped him up. Matt Carpenter wants it. And there is out number 2. So the Brewers down to their last out. We want to recognize our great crew here in Milwaukee. Our final televised home game at Miller Park, led in the truck by producer Wade Robinson and director Kevin Shank. There's Woody down on the first base well. A number of our regulars are out doing the NFL this week. There's Ricky. The eyes of Brewers baseball. Rizzo. Well, it's Leslie back there.
Hiding on us. Yeah, one of the many reasons why we love coming back to Miller Park, seeing our crew here in Milwaukee, the best in the business.
Brian Michalogic, Dave Trout on graphics. Our technical director, Lindsey Greshel. And one of the best audio men in the world, Eric West, giving you all the great sounds of Miller Park. Going to be close. Aoki hustling all the way. That's the way to do it. Nori beats it out, an infield hit. Play until the end. Yeah, and this one extended.
Yep, stay alive until the end, till that final out. Aoki with good hustle down the first baseline. And yet another base hit against a left-handed pitcher. This time being Segras to first base. Just a bit of a hesitation. That's all it took for Aoki to be able to beat it at first base.
And a 2-hit game for Aoki. So a base runner for Jeanette. And a fly ball to left, and that should do it. So the Cardinals have won the first 2, and they will maintain their 2-game lead in the National League Central over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Final of 7-2 tonight. Brewers Live is coming up. Craig Counsell joining Craig Deshawn and Davey Nelson. We'll also have an instructional from Rock. It's all coming up after the turn on Brewers Live. Cardinals win again tonight. Stay with us.